Everybody likes to know what kind of pool stick you play with and what equipment you use, so I figured I'd give you a little rundown here about what I'm using. I use a Brunswick Titlist conversion, an old house cue that was cut down and made a two-piece. I love it. I've been playing with it now for probably 5 years. I do have a new shaft on it. The original cue maker did make me a shaft. I have that, and then I bought a Z2 blank and took it to my same cue maker, and his name's Bill Stetzenmuller. He's based out of Cary, North Carolina. Mine was number 513 that he made, and so a lot of Titleists aren't really long enough to make a full-size butt, so you have to add a little bit of wood to them. So I chose to add koa, and you'll see that he also matched the joints with koa wood. Koa wood comes from Hawaii. That's probably why I like it so much. It just reminds me of tropical environment and vacation, and that's kind of the mindset that I like to take on the pool table all the time. It keeps me relaxed and calm, and yeah, so I just like I really like the looks of the cue. So let's take a look. Let's check it out. Yeah, so I found this cue. There's a place in Burlington, North Carolina called Second Time Around Billiards, and it's part of a place called Heads Incorporated. But Second Time Around Billiards, they specialize in selling used pool equipment, and they have about 7 or 8 55-gallon barrels that are full of old used house cues, and some of them are very warped, and they wouldn't be good for much other than decoration. And then I would go there from time to time and dig through and see if anything new was in there. And after about 2 or 3 years of going there, 3 or 4 times a year, I was digging, and I found an old house cue that had veneers in it, probably 3 or 4 veneers, and they were like brown, dark brown, light brown, and the cue looked like it was rosewood butt and maple shaft, but the front end was gone. There was no ferrule or anything on it. It was in really bad shape, and it cost $3. And so I bought it, and I took it to my cue guy who had done most of my tips and work on my playing cue. As soon as he started to strip it down, we saw that it was a Brunswick Titlist. And those veneer colors, you just can't mistake them. They're super vibrant and bright. It's basically teal, purple, and a yellow, and then the rosewood butt there. So it was no mistaking what it was once we got the varnish, and it's probably from the 1940s or something like that, maybe the 50s. But he ended up making it into a super nice two-piece cue. I always go back to this place, and I'm always chasing the dragon, looking for another cue, trying to find treasure in somebody else's trash. And I haven't gotten that lucky yet, but have bought a bunch of other $5 and $6 cues that just kind of sit in the corner that are waiting one day for me to do something with them. But that's kind of how I got my cue and how I play with it. I am going to upgrade it pretty soon to, I'm going to switch back from using the laminated tips. I'm going to switch back to using a one-piece leather tip. Probably going to go with an Elkmaster, just because I've taken a couple lessons from some pros, and they all use Elkmaster tip. It's like 50 cents on the internet, and they're super cheap to replace. And I don't know, that's what I grew up playing with. I grew up playing with Elkmasters and with Le Pro tips. Always like $10 to change your tip, so it's not going to break the bank. These other tips are pretty pricey these days, but the technology is better, I guess, in those tips. But I don't know, I just feel like because I grew up playing with a one piece, I'm going to switch back, and we're going to see how I like that. See if my game, I don't know, in my mind I think I'm going to do better, but we'll see if it even matters at all. But at least I'll be saving money in the end by switching back to a one piece tip. Other than that, that's the story of my cue.